Okay, so we're diving into this question about true love today.
Hmm.
Does it always require sacrifice?
Okay.
Or should it be effortless, you know?
Right.
Like, what's the deal there?
Yeah, it's a big question.
It is a big question, and there's so many different perspectives on this whole love, effort, and how relationships actually work thing.
Absolutely. And I think one of the most interesting things about this idea of true love
Mm-hmm.
is that it can be something different to everybody.
Oh, totally.
It's easy to kind of get caught up in those like broad strokes, right? Like
Oh,
deep
yeah.
connection,
Yes.
commitment,
Yes.
mutual respect.
Of course, those are the core
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
Mm.
But how that actually plays out
Yeah.
in different relationships, it can look very different from couple to couple.
Totally. Yeah, and you see that all the time, right? So
Mm.
couples will be like, oh, we have this super fiery, passionate relationship.
Mhm.
And then other people are like, no, no, no. It's very steady. It's supportive. And it's like both of those are totally valid expressions of love.
Totally.
But I think when we start to think about, okay, well, what about sacrifice?
Yeah.
Because we hear that a lot with love.
Right.
You hear about couples making these big sacrifices for each
It's
other.
huge, yeah.
Whether it's like moving cities for a job
Sure.
or putting like your own personal dreams on hold
Mhm.
or even like financial support, those kinds of things. It's like, is that just part of the deal when it comes to true love?
Well, it's so interesting you bring that up. There's actually been research on that, and they found that consistently putting your partner's needs first, like you were saying, can actually contribute to a more fulfilling relationship.
Really?
Yeah, but it's not necessarily about those like grand gestures all the time, right?
Yeah, right.
It's often the smaller, those like everyday acts of service and
Oh,
understanding
okay.
and compromise
Yeah.
that really demonstrate love and commitment,
So it's not about giving up everything for the other person.
right? It's about all those little things all the time
Exactly.
that say, you matter.
Yes.
And so then we get to this other side of things where people talk about true love being effortless,
Right.
which is so interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like there's this idea that it should just flow naturally.
Mhm.
And it shouldn't feel like you're constantly like, ugh, this is an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Shouldn't your compatibility, your communication, like all that stuff,
Right.
shouldn't it just like click?
Yeah. And I think that feeling of ease,
Yeah.
is a very valid thing to aspire to in a relationship.
Right.
It's not to say there won't be any challenges,
Oh, of course not.
but it's more like there's this fundamental sense of compatibility,
Okay.
whether it's values, life goals, communication styles, all that,
Mm-hmm.
that just makes navigating those inevitable challenges feel less like a chore
Yeah.
and more like you're on this journey together.
Together, yeah. And, there definitely are those couples out there
Oh, yeah.
where it just seems so effortless.
Right.
You're just like, what is the secret?
Right.
But it makes you wonder, like, how much of it is about finding the right person
Yeah. Yeah.
versus how much of it can you actually cultivate?
Exactly.
That ease, that understanding
Right.
within a relationship,
Yeah. And that is a great question. I think it's probably a combination,
right?
like finding someone who shares those values, that outlook on life.
Sure, that's got to be the foundation, right?
Exactly. That's the foundation. But even with that, even the most compatible couples, they need to nurture that connection
Yeah, they do.
with open communication, empathy, being willing to understand each other's perspectives.
So maybe it's not about like love being either sacrificing or effortless.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's about finding that balance
Right.
between the
I
two.
agree. Yeah.
And communication is key to that, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how you're going to figure out what each person needs.
And what feels like a healthy level of giving without, totally depleting yourself.
And what your boundaries are.
Yes.
What feels healthy for you to give.
Yes, because I think ultimately at the end of the day, right,
Right.
a healthy, fulfilling relationship
Mm-hmm.
should allow both people to thrive,
Yes.
not just together,
Absolutely.
but also as individuals.
Absolutely. That's so important.
It is. And I think, when you start thinking about it like that, it really is a lot to consider.
Yeah.
Like what feels natural, what feels healthy.
Right. And how do our own experiences,
Exactly.
our own expectations,
Yes.
shape how we view all of this?
Totally. And I think that's a conversation you should be having, not just with, whoever you're with,
Yes.
but also with yourself.
Absolutely.
Like what is it that you're looking for? What do you want?
I love that.
So much to unpack there.
So many.